Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Supra video. Today is a good day for the Supra because this thing is getting a full-on paint correction. Let me get this thing fully clay barred and dried off and we can check out the condition of the paint. It's a nice car, but man, the paint is just atrocious on it. As you guys can hear by how much gunk is on the paint with the clay. All right, the car is fully clayed and dried. Do we dare put a light on this thing? You ready for this? That's pretty rough. You can hardly even see the reflection of the light. That's how bad that is. Now when we're all finished up, if we polish this thing correctly, should look like this. There is quite a few parts and emblems that we do need to pull off, but I'm very, very excited to just get to work. So I'm gonna do a little bit of polishing on the hood just to see how nice we can make this thing look. After giving the hood just a light cut, it's pretty evident and obvious that the hood has been repainted. And honestly, they didn't do the best paint job. I'm gonna try to fix it, but this hood, I might have to repaint. Let's give it a nice wet sand, see if I can get all of this pitting and orange peel out of this hood and go from there. All right, keep in mind we still need to do a polish, but here's a before with nothing. Here it is just cut, and here's a wet sand and a cut. So the wet sanding takes out all of the orange peel that's in this hood. There's a lot of little pitting, pieces of dirt. There's a lot going on in this hood. I don't think anything else on the car has been resprayed beside the hood. So this entire thing needs to be wet sanded before it is ever polished. But we have some hope. That should look pretty good when the rest of the car looks like that. So let's focus on getting this hood completed before we tackle the rest of the car. We need to go ahead, remove the windshield sprayers. I'm gonna tape off the edges so we don't burn any of the edges, tape off our brand new headlights that we installed yesterday, tape that seal, so on and so forth. Just kind of isolate the hood from the rest of the car so we do not ruin anything else. On the hood, these are the exact steps that I'm taking to make it perfect. Step one is a purple 3M 1500 grit sanding disc. Now it is a disc, but I'm not gonna be using it on the DA. Anything below 2000 grit, I do prefer to hand sand. So here we have a nice little flexible block. This is gonna pull out all of the orange peel and the major imperfections in the paint. And then we're gonna step it to a 2000 grit. This is called a Merca disc. This is the brand. It's kind of like the 3M Trizac discs, but it's a little bit thicker. And this is great for refining that 1500 grit sand scratch without getting any of these sanding pigtails. Now to refine that even further, we are stepping to the 3000 grit 3M Trizac foam disc. 2000 and 3000 are both being used on this DA. Now after all of the sanding is done, we move on to buffing and polishing. So the first step to pull out all the sand scratches is a white foam pad with a 3M white compound on a rotary. You can pull out sand scratches with a Rupes or a DA of some sort, but it is a lot faster with a rotary. After the first step with the rotary, we move to the Rupes Bigfoot. So step two will be a blue pad with either the blue Rupes compound, or I also like this. Either one of those with the blue pad on the Rupes works great. And then to finish it off with a nice polish, I like the yellow Rupes compound, the yellow Rupes pads on the Bigfoot, and it is a perfect mint condition, new looking shine. All right, guys, this thing is fully sanded down and ready to be polished out. 1500, 2000, 3000 grit is what we did. And now we're gonna hit it with the rotary. She is fully rotaried. Rotary definitely works best for pulling out the sand scratches, but now we need to go ahead and polish it because as you guys can see, she is full of rotary marks and it does not look good, of course, whatsoever like that. And after a quick little polish with the Rupes Bigfoot polisher, this is what we ended up with. Man, oh man, compared to where we started, that looks incredible. Now we do have 4 rock chips on the hood. One right there, there, and there. I'm gonna go ahead and fill those real quick, let it dry, wet sand it so it is completely flat, polish it, and hopefully it'll completely cover the rock chips. So I went ahead and filled in the rock chips. You can still see them just a tiny bit. I flat sanded it by hand with 1500, 2000, 3000. Now I'm gonna go ahead and polish this out and see how it looks. It's definitely better, but there's still a low spot and I don't love it. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix up just a little bit of clear coat and drip in the clear, let it harden, wet sand that, and that should take care of the low spot that's in the rock chips. Well, the worst thing that could happen just happened. That is a sanded through area on our hood. Now looking at the brighter side, I'm glad it happened on the hood and nothing else, being that every other panel on this car is original paint. But now of course we do need to repaint the hood. That sucks. Moving on to the rest of the car. Now we know the hood was repainted. Obviously that was clear coated when they repainted it. The rumor on the internet is that 93 to 95 Supras, if it was a solid color, say black or white, it's a single stage, meaning there's no clear coat. So let's go ahead and start working on a fender and see if that's true. If it is, I'm a little bit nervous. I've never polished a single stage car before. And of course you don't have that extra layer, like thicker layer of clear coat. So you gotta be extra careful from what I understand. So I'm gonna put the rotary away, work only with the Rupes from here on out, because if it is true, single stage only, I'll probably burn through with the rotary. Now it's not as bad as the hood, but this fender is pretty hammered. This is what the rest of the entire car looks like, minus the bumpers. The bumpers have a little bit of extra fade being that they're plastic, but this fender's hammered. Let's see how we can make it look. She is indeed single staged, but it looks like it's gonna turn out really, really nice. So I guess I don't really care. To polish out the entire car, minus the hood that we had to wet sand, we're just gonna be using these two here. The blue Rupes or the blue Adams pad with the blue Rupes compound, or the white 3M compound. And then to polish it, yellow pad, yellow compound, both on the Rupes Bigfoot polisher. It seems like the single stage is quite a bit softer than cleared, so it polishes out quite nicely. Keep in mind this is only cut. There's how it was before. There's where we're at now. This fender is fully buffed out, not polished yet. I'm gonna wait to polish the car till the very end. The second worst thing on this car, right behind the hood, is this front bumper. Not because of the scratches, but because of how faded the plastic is. I went ahead and pulled off the badge. We will have to replace it. I was gonna just leave it badgeless, but there's holes in the bumper, so I'll have to order one of those up. But let's see what we can do with the bumper. Do you guys remember how faded this bumper was? Look at it now. That is bizarre. So other than the hood, the entire front end is now complete. The front bumper and both fenders. And I must say, man, for a 30-year-old factory single stage paint job, this is turning out so good. Let's go ahead and move on to the roof. I always like to do the roof of a car before we do the sides, just because there's a chance you might scuff the door with the cable or your clothes or something. So we're gonna do from here all the way to here in the roof as well. We need to tape off all of our moldings. Go ahead and do our IPA wipe down and get this thing all polished out. Before we move forward, we need to pull off a few pieces. Let's go ahead and remove the mirrors, remove the wing. If it was a newer car, I would pull the door handles because they're much easier on a newer car. On some old like this, they're kind of a pain. You got to disassemble the door panel and whatnot. So I'm going to try to make it perfect without removing the door handles. If I need to pull them later on, I will, but for now I'm going to leave it. I'm going to remove the taillights, this badge, and possibly the antenna as well. Now, before the wing and the mirrors get removed, I am going to go ahead and polish those out. It's much easier to do while they are mounted on the car versus trying to do it on a stand. Here is the current condition of the wing. All the plastic on this car is pretty hammered, but thankfully it's coming out pretty nice. So it looks like in order to remove the side mirror, which I desperately need to get off to get this door polished properly, we have to remove the door panel. If I'm gonna pull the door panel, we may as well pull the door handle and make it perfect. As of right now, the whole entire car is now hit with the first step, which is the blue pad and the blue compound from Rupes, or the blue pad from Rupes and the white 3M compound. All of the water staining, the scratches, the fading is now removed. And the last thing we need to do is just go ahead and give it a final polish. Now, I was going to use the yellow pad and yellow compound from Rupes on the Bigfoot, but honestly, guys, I like the 3M compound so much. And after doing a little bit more testing, I'm gonna go ahead and use the blue compound from 3M with the white pads from Adams. I know, we got a lot going on. I have so many different pads and compounds, and honestly, every single car takes a little bit different of a setup, it seems like. Especially being single stage, I've had to adjust my technique quite a bit to make sure we don't have any swirling going on and to make sure we do not burn through the paint. So as of right now, it looks pretty good, much better than it did before, but there's still a little bit of minor scuffing going on that we just need to polish out. I taped off a line here so we can get a nice before and after of what it looks like step 1 versus step 1 and 2. Now, even without the light, you can see the difference. Alrighty guys, we are all finished up polishing the entire car. It's all done. Of course, now we got to repaint the hood, but I'm going to pull the tape, make sure our moldings didn't get damaged at all. And then let's pull this thing outside. There's not really much sun, but there's a little bit, and we can see how it looks. Unfortunately, we don't have any sun whatsoever, but dude, seeing this thing outside, wow. It turned out so freaking good. We need to pull it back inside. I'm gonna reassemble it, wash it, completely dry it off, and we need to get this thing ceramic coated immediately. The car is fully cleaned up and dried. We are ready to ceramic coat it. And I will be using the Armor Shield Max, which is a 3-year ceramic coating from Avalon King. Now, before we coat it, we need to make sure the panel is perfectly clean. So we're gonna go through and wipe down the entire car with diluted to 18% isopropyl alcohol and a brand new microfiber towel. Now, after the car is cleaned up, we are finally ready to move on to protecting this beautiful paint with some ceramic coat. So grab your applicator sponge, grab your towel, wrap it around the sponge, and go ahead and saturate the towel and apply it to the paint. I like the Max, the Armor Shield Max over the Armor Shield 9. It's a little bit thicker and it seems a little bit easier to work with over the Armor Shield 9. Now, after the coating sits on the car for about 5 minutes, you go ahead and wipe it off with a new fresh microfiber towel, revealing the nicest shine you'll ever see. The Supra is now fully ceramic coated. This thing is insane looking.